Senator Lummis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Mr. Warsh, and congratulations on your nomination. And thanks for appearing before this committee, and taking both the positive questions and some of the hostility. I apologize for my colleague's behavior when it strays outside of decorum. My first question is about the balance sheet of the Fed. What is your view about the size of the balance sheet currently?
Thank you, Senator. As we talked about in your office, the Fed balance sheet has played a particularly, I think, unhelpful role in helping the Fed achieve its dual mandate. The senator had just mentioned what she described as the increase for financial assets relative to real assets. Well, part of that is the Federal Reserve. The Fed is not blameless in that as it's grown the Fed's balance sheet, grown its imprimatur on the economy, those with financial assets have benefited from it. The reason why I prefer monetary policy to use interest rates as the dominant force is interest rates affect a far broader cross-section of the economy. Interest rates get in the cracks. If we were to cut rates, then broader number of people will benefit from it versus quantitative easing, which tends to move through financial assets first. Half of our fellow Americans don't own any financial assets, so they're wondering what's in it for them. Broadly speaking, Senator, on the balance sheet, I was involved in 2008 and 9 in response to the global financial crisis that Senator Warren referenced, and we used extraordinary measures and created a bigger balance sheet. But we agreed to do that only in the times of emergencies, only when interest rates were pinned to zero. The big balance sheet has become an ordinary recurring force, and I think has been quite unhelpful, and is part of the reason why the Fed is in the business of politics. Slowly and deliberatively, I believe we need a smaller central bank balance sheet. It took us 18 years to create this big balance sheet that's done quite a bit of harm, it strikes me, to the Fed's credibility. Working with the Treasury Secretary, we're going to have to find out a way in which we can take the balance sheet and make it smaller, because a large balance sheet where the Fed owns more outstanding debt than many parts of the financial markets, that's fiscal policy in disguise. Fed needs to get out of the fiscal business, focus on the monetary business, so the Fed can deliver on the remit you gave us.
Thanks for that response, because some of us don't appreciate the connection between the size of the Fed's balance sheet and interest rates. With regard to interest rates, can you tell us a little bit about your conversations with President Trump about interest rates?
Yeah, I don't want to put words in the president's mouth, but I think he has said loudly and clearly his view on interest rates. Don't think I'm breaking any news here. But I can tell you what I said, and what I said to the president is what I've said to this committee and what I've frankly been writing about for more than a decade. Interest rates are the much better way to be using monetary policy than buying bonds and mortgages, some of which are issued from the United States Treasury Department. That is a confusion of roles. That leads to a set of mission creep. So interest rates are the dominant tool, and interest rates, as I mentioned, get in the cracks. My broad view on the conduct of policy from here is that too many Fed officials, past and present, opine in advance about where they think interest rates should be next meeting, next quarter, next year. I think that's quite unhelpful. As we've heard today from many of your colleagues, we don't know the state of AI. We can't be certain about the state of geopolitics. The economy is going to change. You need central bankers that are humble, that are nimble, that are open-minded, that can react when we have good data, when events strike us. My broad view is that interest rates need to be forward-looking, need to be based on better data, and we should have a big, robust deliberation inside the FOMC. I tend to favor messier meetings than some, where people don't show up with rehearsed scripts, but we can have a good family fight. If the central bank has that good family fight, I think that they're going to make better decisions. And if they happen to make mistakes, they'll correct them sooner. So I'm not one for pre-deciding what interest rates should be. I never said to the president where I think rates should be. I never committed any such thing, and I wouldn't have even thought about doing so.
Quick yes or no, do you believe that digital assets should be incorporated into our financial industry so Americans have new investment opportunities and consumer protections?
Senator, digital assets are already part of the fabric of our financial services industry in the United States. Yes.
Thanks, Mr. Walsh.